Okay, let's talk about mission 4, which is really, really awkward because if you know Mercs, you'll know that at this point you've got a flak jacket, so you've got a double life bar, but you've also now got frogmen. And frogmen are a giant pain in the arse. So I'll just show you how much damage one of them does. That's with a flak jacket. So 2, 3, very, very easy just to get killed in this stage. And you can do absolutely nothing wrong, and level 4 will just eat you alive, and I've got various bloopers, I've got various runs where you can see that. I once had a run where I got 45 hits in the entire game, and level 4 was just like a blooper reel. So what I recommend is you load a save state that finishes stage 3 and transitions into stage 4, and you load it before the actual beginning. And then if you do different movement at the start of 4, you can trigger different effects of frogmen and different timings. So if I understand it correctly, broadly with Genesis RNG, it's the game is trying to set things in very similar positions about 75% of the time, but there's a lot of variance based on when instructions are acting and what's going on with other sprites and attacks and things. So very broadly speaking, the way you play in any level in a set piece will always influence what happens on the screen. And especially if you're looking at a lot of my recent upload runs, you'll notice I try to be very, very consistent, especially in stage 1, with how I'm playing, because I can prevent certain enemies spawning. And it's the same in 4, but it takes a lot more work. The best example for you to look at for how you can successfully manip 4 would actually be the arcade mode world record, where I managed to get better spawning. But this is definitely something you're going to want to play around with. So, broadly speaking, you want to have a slightly flexible position. I've got the mouse cursor here, I'll just show you. You've got a couple of health crates here, but you want to move so that you are in a line that's slightly above them. So you've got the option to either fire down into them with a flick and get your health, or you can ignore them. And the ideal circumstance is you're going to have a chain of these frogmen coming up behind you, trying to get an autograph, and you're going to chain them so that they're following you, but you're outrunning them with nice, clean, vertical movement up the board as much as you can. Because when you're moving vertically, you will outrun these guys. Diagonally, they're a little bit faster. You don't want to be too tight into this area here. You're going to get trapped in. And broadly, you do want to kill these grunts, but just try and use your judgment. Try not to pause too much, try and get through, and typically if you only take one hit in this first bog, that's a good result. Let's just try and show you how this should look. You can see just how many of them are spawning there and I'm getting whacked. That's a bad bog. They're on the right, we're not worried. We can outrun that guy. That's a good bog. You're going to get laser. If you're doing the advanced strats, you're not going to buy anything for him. But again, you need to practice out of this bog. This one, it doesn't really matter where you enter, but again, I recommend you do some diagonal movement first to get to about this line here, and then inch towards the power-ups on the left side because you need the M. The power bricks, it's useful to get them because that'll put you to 10 power. Basically, there is no circumstance where you want to be ignoring those. And broadly speaking, as far as movement in this game, it's better to do your diagonal movement first and then aim to be moving vertically afterwards. Take a hit there, that's not good. So something like that. This bog is a pain in the arse because you're trapped in on the left side, but you need to stay on this left side. And you can do a little bit of flicking and you can try and do a bit of wiggling to confuse the grunts, but generally this is where you're going to either have to be on low health and do some survival strats, or you're just going to have to eat a bit of time loss. You can see if you don't flick successfully, you're going to have a bad time. The up gauge over here isn't worth it. Show you that again. So you're trying to use clean movement. If you get somebody in front of you or you're worried, you can try a bit of wiggling to confuse them. Bit of rapid fire, but it's not that easy. It's the sort of thing where you can play perfectly enough that you will confuse every single Frogman. Level 4 will still mess you up, so try not to worry too much about it, apart from the perspective of your health. Little flicks just to try and confuse it. And then you come up to this section here where you've got 5 dynamite crates in a row. And broadly speaking, you'll want to enter via number 2 gap or number 3 gap. Number 1 gap is very risky, because if a grunt hits you, it's more than likely going to be from that side. So let me just make a save state here. We'll have a look. So number 2 is generally the best bet for the gap. And number 1 is a bad idea because you want to be moving very slightly to the right in the coming section. I'm also going to mention here, you should see a red number here. This is the lag frame counter. And when you're practicing level 4, this is extremely useful, because the section coming up with the speed boost, if you've seen any of the arcade mode or original mode runs, suffice to say that can be a killer. And it's going to be useful for you to have that on screen to get an idea how much lag you're causing. You can, in theory, shoot between these boxes of dynamite, like that, but it's extremely risky. Because you can get killed like that. You've got assassins coming up as well, so again, try and do some flicking to kill those. You're going to get the speed boost section here. I want to make you aware that if you kill this red speed boost in the wrong place over here, Jim Bone's Revenge, you can actually soft lock and you won't be able to move on, and that'll be the end of the run. It's about a 0.5% chance. Try not to worry about it too much, just be aware of it. You do need the M, and you want to kill both of these speed boosts as quickly as you can, but mostly you want the red one to spawn about here, on the right hand side, and you want to be moving very slightly to the right through this section. Now you can get through here without killing or deviating for any of the assassins. There's like a way I used to find doing it, but it's not really worth trying. And especially because you can tend to get low health, rapidly dwindling here. I especially would not try to spawn an assassin and have him run behind you. It's just going to be a bad time. Do your flickins. And now we're going to try and show you just how much lag can come on here. So you see 2162 right now. We're going to get in this speed boost. Anytime there's a plume of water on the screen, you're going to see just how much lag that's generating. And all the extra movement as well. Firing myself is bad. All these things are going to give you a bad experience. And generally it's common to lose a second or two lag in this section, so be aware of it. The general rule is kill that green Jeep first. If he's behind you, try and despawn him. Stay a little bit away from the aqueduct on a diagonal. Do double fire like this to try and get multiple plumes out. Don't move diagonally too far here. So kill him, If you're good or lucky, sometimes you can get that green Jeep to be manipulated, spawn directly in front of the water plume you're firing, and get a damage on the aqueduct and kill him at the same time. Very often, however, you'll need to make a decision. He's going to be over here or over here. You'll need to decide, can you get into the same line as him and kill him in one shot? Because if you don't, you can have all sorts of problems like this, where you're running up here because the water movement is faster, but you're losing time to the lag. And you can end up in this situation where you sort of checkmated into being slow and being powerless to do anything about it. Even worse, rarely, sometimes you'll actually get blown out of the Jeep and have to walk in the water, which is even slower. One shot. Nice clean line. You can see just how wrongly that went, because I tried to gamble on firing at the Jeep, but he wasn't there. There's a lot of things you reset for in this game. This is not one of those sections, unless you softlock. That's an example of what can go wrong there. Again, this is where having a save state preloaded and practicing this will help you a lot, because it will give you a better intuition for how your movement is affecting the spawn of the items in the game. It'll feel like a foreign language at first, but you will get the hang of it, I promise. You watch a lot of runs, you'll see what's good and what's bad. So what I'm trying to do there, I'm trying to manipulate him into firing short, and I'm going to try and get one quick burst away and then veer up here, scoot away while he's there dying. Didn't get it. I know this is a little bit of a long section, but this is really important. There we go. If you get any lag whatsoever in this section, I recommend debarking here. Otherwise, you're going to go diagonally and up towards the boss. You want to exit roughly between these two ridges here. And then, as far as the praxis, as far as the strategy, if for any reason you're underconfident about health, you can pick up the up gauge, which is in chest number 3 here. But you always want to grab the med crate and the M here. They are basically essential. I once had a run where I went halfway up the screen and doubled back to get the M. It's that important. And you want to be in roughly this line here towards the boss. Now, this hovercraft is again one of the big time sinks in this game, and I've done other little snippets and videos that explain how to kill it. If you want to look at a really good rifle kill, you want to look at Fletcher's PB, because he is way better than me at doing this kill with rifle. If you want something nice and simple, you're going to use laser, but you do have to keep your wits about you, because if you take too much damage here with laser, you can have a bad time on the Jeep boss. It's also exceedingly common to take one hit from a grunt somewhere here, because of the angles. But what you're roughly going to want to try and do is to move up into here. And you're going to try and do a movement from this area here of the pattern into here, facing diagonally, so that the hovercraft is on the left side when it starts. That means its grunts are going to fire down, away from you. You're going to have a lot of time to get some free hits in, and then you're going to be keeping an eye out for one of these grunts on the hovercraft firing an orange bullet. You're going to damage boost and fire while you've got iframes into that. Like that. If he moves down, you're going to have to move away from him. I don't know what causes that. I think it's just dependent on what behaves you do. Again, try and use those bullets to damage boost. But again, you're going to try and do that twice. Once he gets down to about 2 bars of health, you've got to be very careful, because these little guidance missiles, broadly, you're going to get one firing from this side here. It's going to want to hit you very badly. Either you're going to get knocked back, which is going to blow you backwards, or you're going to lose time trying to kill it. So you want to move up very slightly into this boundary here, but you don't want to touch it. Little moves like that. You see, if you get moved back, that's really bad for you. So you can often preempt that hit by moving up that diagonally. And again, it's important to have a margin in front of you. But the idea with that is that you're also, if you're late, going to be automatically facing back up left, so that your bullets are firing across him. If you want to use an M on this boss, wait until you know he's not going to move down on you. Use it about when he's got 2 bars of health left like that. It's honestly not a terrible idea, because if you've got less than about 3/4 life, you will end up in trouble, because you'll either have a bad mission 5, or because mission 6 gets difficult. Now, in theory, it's best to use rifle. I'm just using rifle because I want to keep laser. But even towards sub 1330, it's viable to switch to laser. The problem is you can either character swap wrong, or you can take masses of damage. I had a run, I think it was my 1328, where I car swapped wrong, and I literally lost a couple of seconds and didn't even get the benefit. So you do have to be careful. But if you're going to use laser, you're going to use the same strat. You're going to get one shot diagonally, and then you're going to start inching towards the hovercraft slowly, like this. That's a good kill. Again, always be moving up there, because if he starts moving down towards you, and you're not moving up before that, you are going to get a massive damage, and then you're in deep trouble, because you can't use the correct strat in 5 on the boss. Again, use this lineup to reference. That's bad because I shoot too early. And this positioning is also protecting you from both the missile on the left and the missile on the right. So I'm roughly using when these guys are drowning and when I'm meeting in this area here, facing diagonally, to change character. And I'm using double mash on the firing, because the firing with laser, I'll just show you, can be quite finicky. And if you think you're pressing one fire button, but you're not doing it at the correct firing rate, you're going to have very lumpy fire. So you always use 2 buttons in a rhythm. Doesn't matter if that rhythm's fast or slow, but it's always going to be better to do this. And it's also good practice for what you do in 5. So I'll just show you that one more time. You would much rather lose a bit of time like that by moving up and then back down, because you do not want to take damage. that's a lot of damage, you're going to have a bad time.